Mrs. Mary doesn't like the type of Armenian coffee served in Armenia. It's not strong enough, she says. The brand of coffee she uses, especially if made in the Aleppo style, is tastier, she adds. Mary Kopoyan was among the passengers of the last plane that flew from Aleppo to Yerevan. That was 5 years ago. We were terrified on the way to the Aleppo airport. Some 15 or 16 fuel trucks were set on fire, and we went straight through the flames. Our driver then took some narrow side streets to get us to the airport. Afterwards, Mary's husband and her son's family joined her in Armenia. But a year later, her son's family returned to Syria, as his non-Armenian wife could not stand to live away from her parents. His wife didn't want to stay. She's Christian. She doesn't speak Armenian. She lasted a year here, but kept wanting to go back. She missed her parents, so they went back. Such is the fate of the Armenian, says Mrs. Mary, the younger daughter of Parpetsi Zakar, a genocide survivor. My father was a refugee. I too became a refugee. With tears of longing in her eyes, and only after taking a deep breath, Mrs. Kopoyan talks about her dreams. My biggest dream is that people don't become dependent on the charity of others. Her life in Armenia started on a good note. She and her husband were given Armenian identity cards, and the government provided them with some monetary assistance. They also received free medication from a health clinic and were allowed to live in this home in Echmiadzin rent-free. The owner, who lives abroad, generously opened the door of his house to the Syrian-Armenian couple. I don't pay rent. The owner, who doesn't live in Armenia, has provided us with this house. After the Kopoyans fled Syria, it seemed the worst was behind them, but that was before Mary's husband fell gravely ill. After staying in a hospital for 15 days, he passed away. Mrs. Mary says the black wave of misfortune had started back in Syria, when her 30-year-old daughter died during childbirth. My heart aches when I talk about it. Mrs. Mary often stops speaking as she gasps for air. She had a heart procedure last summer and hasn't completely recovered yet. They ran a test and told me 2 of my arteries were blocked and a third one had begun narrowing. They opened up the 2 arteries, but I still don't feel completely well. Every Sunday, Mrs. Mary goes to Mother Cathedral in Echmiadzin. She prays for peace, as she once did at Aleppo's 40 Martyrs Church. May God grant peace to the whole world, to our homeland and Syria. May He grant us health and protect our army. I will be so grateful if God grants me these wishes. Mrs. Mary also lights a candle for her benefactor. She doesn't even know his name. All she knows is that the Hayastan All-Armenian Fund paid for her heart procedure. I am deeply grateful to the Hayastan All-Armenian Fund for lending a helping hand when I desperately needed it. Mrs. Mary says a helping hand is like the right hand of God, relieving suffering and healing wounds. She prays that no one in need will be ignored by the Almighty.